My wife sat with her friends and announced, "We decided it's time for a divorce," as they wore smug smiles. I simply asked, "So, none of you mind that she's been sleeping with your husbands?" She did it at Mark and Gina's house, right when everyone moved from the backyard grill to the kitchen island. Gina cracked a joke about marital math, and my wife tapped her glass with a fork and announced, loud and clear, "We don't do equality in our house." Jason even tries, but I'm the one who commands the important decisions. She held her smirk as if it were a headline. I lowered my glass. "If that's the case," I said to the room, "then I'll stop pretending I'm going to fix the sink tomorrow. You can approve that decision too?" A light chuckle rippled through the kitchen. Tara rolled her eyes and went for another barb. "See? He gets defensive. It's cute for a minute." If I had known where that sentence would lead, I wouldn't have wasted time on the sink or the joke. I didn't confront her there. I just took the empty tray, carried it to the counter, and finished cleaning up while she reigned among her friends. On the ride back home, she kept staring out the passenger window, as if the darkness were more interesting than anything I could say. The silence didn't bother me. Back at our house, with the lights dimmed, she kicked off her heels and grabbed her phone. "We need to talk," I said. She didn't even look up. "About what?" "About you doing stand-up comedy at our expense." She kept scrolling. It was just a little joke. "You take everything too seriously. You painted our marriage as a one-way street." "You know what, Jason?" she said, finally looking up from her phone. "That is how it works." I leaned against the door frame. "That's not how it's going to work." She finally met my gaze. "What?" I kept my voice neutral, where I changed the routine, the spending, and access to me. Schedule, content, everything. Being rude in public buys dissonance at home. That's the rule. She gave a short, cold laugh. "You'll survive." I pointed to the dishwasher. "Tomorrow is your turn." She lowered her phone slowly. "You're mad? So you're delegating chores?" "Come on. I'm not mad. I'm adjusting." "You like the microphone with an audience?" "I like clarity." "Let's start there." She walked past me without a word, brushing my shoulder as if I were in the way. The bedroom door closed. I stood in the hallway listening to the tone of the new rule. Equality or separation? She would test it, of course. And I was ready. The next morning, she circled the kitchen with that cold efficiency. Women learn from magazines and certain friends who love giving advice. She left a cup in the sink without water, like a marker for someone else to fix. "Your turn," I reminded her. She kept walking. "I have an early meeting." "So do I." She stopped and flashed a thin smile. "You'll be fine." "Then we are separated," I replied. I opened the dishwasher, put my plate in, turned it on, and left my mug drying. I grabbed my laptop bag, locked my office door behind me, and texted Mark. "Need to stop by before work?" 10 minutes. He replied with a thumbs up. Tara noticed the locked door when she came back to get her keys. She rattled the handle. "What is this wall?" "Work calls require silence again," I said. She stared at me as if that should embarrass me. It didn't. She left. I stopped by Mark's garage on the way to work. Mark is a warehouse manager and speaks in inventory terms, even about life. "Catalog what happened yesterday?" he asked, tossing me a rag. "I'm not writing a complaint," I said. "I'm writing a protocol. Next time she turns this into a stage, I pull the plug on the show. It means separate schedules, separate cars, separate plans. No more handing her my agenda so she can hit me with it." He nodded. "Controlling distribution. Like it." We bumped fists, and I drove to the office with a clear head. In the first week, she grew colder about small things. She stopped answering texts about dinner and started arriving late without giving details. When I asked what was happening, she was minimalist. "Went out with the girls." "Which girls? You don't know everyone." "I know enough to notice a missing name." She shrugged. This became her favorite posture. Shoulders up, chin tilted, phone face down. At night, she lay there like a roommate who hadn't paid rent again. On Friday, I got straight to the point. The kitchen clock ticked loudly between us. "I'm not going to chase after you," I said. "If you want distance, take it honestly." She scoffed. "There's the plea." Classic. Now wasn't a plea? Then what? Terms. I slid a notepad across the counter. "I'm setting my gym times for earlier. I'll be home by 6 p.m. if there's a plan. If not, I dine with friends. I'm splitting our joint account into personal bills and expenses. Your nights out are not my expense." She crossed her arms. "You are dramatic." "I am organized." She pushed the notepad back with one finger. "Make your systems. You aren't asking for permission, and I'm not offering it." I went to the garage and grabbed a cooler. That weekend, I went fishing on the coast with Dave and Louise. I sent no updates. I sent one text on Sunday night, back at 9 p.m. She read it and left me unread. On Monday, she ramped up the sarcasm. She took calls at the dinner table and laughed at things I couldn't hear. When I asked who it was, she used her teacher voice. "Don't interrupt me." I asked a normal question and moved on. She grabbed her purse. "I'm going out with people who don't need a roll call. Have fun." I went to the freezer and grabbed a frozen pizza. Starving isn't one of my principles. She approached her, not even curious. She teased, I'm specific. If you want me to know, you'll tell me. Otherwise, I'll spend my attention wisely. She rolled her eyes and left. I locked the door behind her. That sound felt like a line drawn with a thick pen. Later that week, at Gina's house again, Tara repeated the same little theater, with a twist. You know what Jason is good at? She asked the group. He has a Boy Scout vibe, always trying to fix things. Adorable. Gina laughed too loud, then looked at me. She's known me longer than Tara has. Is everything okay? She asked. I took a sip of water and set the glass down slowly. I'm great, I told the table. Starting today, if anyone builds jokes on my name, they get my silence at home. I charge for the material. A small silence followed. Gina's husband raised his hands, as if to say, not me. Tara showed her teeth. Is that a threat? She prodded. It's not pricing, I said, and stood up. Gina, thanks for dinner. I shook Mark's hand, patted his shoulder. See you Thursday. On the way back, Tara turned up the music volume, as if that solved anything. At home, she turned off the car and finally glared at me. You can't humiliate me in front of my friends, she said, irritated. You did the opening act. I did the closing, I replied. I warned you once. Next time, I act without warning. This was the warning. She shot me a furious look. Do you think this is winning? I think it's respect. She stormed into the house. I spent an hour in the garage adjusting the lawnmower, letting that sentence seep into the rafters. The next morning, I saw her move from her. She made coffee and left a cup next to my laptop. We went off the rails, she said. It's true. I'm stressed. Work is heavy. I didn't mean to be harsh. I don't care about the reason, Tara. Just the behavior. She felt like she'd heard that phrase in another context. Okay, she said, coming over to massage my shoulders. Can we restart for now? Yes. Same rules. She kissed my cheek and laughed at a little joke I made about my boss. For a whole day, she behaved. She sent a photo of a sandwich she made and a note. Saved half for you. I replied with a thumbs up. That night, she said she was meeting 2 friends at a bar. I won't be late, she added. Promise. Let me know when you're heading back. Sure. She left at 7 p.m. and returned at 2 a.m. No text. Her heels in the hallway sounded like a cheap alarm. I checked the time and went to the door. You break promises fast, I said, marked. 7 o'clock? She dropped her purse. Don't start what? The accounting? We already split the ledger. She went to the sink and turned on the tap as if she needed the noise to argue. My phone died. Then the streetlights charged it, I said. Because you were scrolling on the porch for 5 minutes? She looked over her shoulder. You were spying on me? I live here. Stop being controlling. I am being precise. She went to bed. I didn't follow. I sat at the table and made a new list. Plans I would no longer support. Places I would no longer go because I refused to be a prop. When the sun rose, my mood didn't need coffee. At work, I ate lunch outside with Dave, who talks like a retired technician. He listened and shook his head. He's imposing narratives. If you don't define one, she will. I defined one, I replied. She's testing the hinges. He chewed. What's the goal on her side? Power? Maybe leaving with the upper hand? He shrugged. Then stop funding the games. If she wants out, let her file. If she wants respect, let her act like it. I'm done talking, I told him. The next step is action. That night, another one of her nights out. No text, just a casual hi. At midnight, the smell of a cologne I didn't buy. She kept her phone glued to her palm like a passport. Hiding something you'd be proud of? I asked. She walked past me. Go to sleep, Jason. I did. I woke up to the new roommate. She rolled her eyes. Jealousy is ugly. Disrespect is uglier. She grabbed a blanket and went to the sofa like a silent film martyr. Fine by me. I slept. The next afternoon I called a guy named Harris. Recommended by Mark's cousin. Harris is the type of private investigator who speaks in receipts, not theories. I sat across from him in a restaurant he chose, and he slid a small list of deliverables to me. Where does she go? Who does she meet? When he summarized it without comments. Just data. Perfect, I replied. I don't need adjectives. Let me pause the story for a moment. If you are still listening, please click the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you very much for the support. Now back to the story. At home I went into operational mode. I moved important files from the home office to a locked bank box. I put a second garage remote in my truck and got a new gym key. I sent a short text to Tara, working late today. Don't wait for me. I wasn't working late. I was just controlling my own time. Her reply came fast. Okay? No emoticon, no question, just okay. That told me what I needed to know. 2 days later, Harris sent a brief update. Patterns forming, he wrote. Full report soon. I kept my routine strict and my mouth shut. Tara tried another soft spin, made a snack for me, and left a post-it on the jar. Sorry about last weekend. I left the food in the work fridge for anyone who wanted it. I sent her a simple thank you. Nothing more. 3 days later, Harris called at 7 a.m. Ready? Go ahead. He was firm and clear. Names, places, times, not one, but several men in rotation. And the twist that hit me in the chest, but didn't stop me from breathing. The men were known, husbands of our closest friends. A different one for each night out. No public displays, all discreet encounters. Photos, receipts. I listened without interrupting. When he finished, I said, email the package to my lawyer. I don't want this on my phone. Do you already have a lawyer? Calling in 10 minutes? He whistled low. You keep the blade sharp. Keep it away from my hand, I replied. I drove to a small office above a barber shop where a guy named Nolan works. Nolan doesn't speak like a lawyer. He speaks like a mechanic. Let's do this clean, he said. No fireworks, just signatures on a ready paper. If you show your cards too early, she'll nuke your image with her friends. You let me handle the paperwork? Disappear for a few weeks. Come back with the folder. The ground will be yours. I don't want to breathe the same air as her in the meantime. Then don't breathe, he said, sliding a task list across the desk. You'll need a practical pretext. Work trip. Say 2 to 3 weeks. I'll rent a place on the other side of town. She doesn't need the address. He looked at me. Good, are you sure you don't want to confront? More than sure. I'm done giving speeches. He nodded. We'll call when it's ready. I rented a simple place in a different neighborhood. I paid monthly and called Dave and Louise. I told them what I knew. Silence. Dave swore quietly and then controlled himself. He made the right decision. Louise, who rarely speaks loudly, said, you can stay at my house if you need support. I'm fine, I told them, but I appreciate it. Show up on Friday. I want to play cards and not think. Bring the long stories, said Dave. Let's roast each other like old times. At the rental, I set up a simple life. Air mattress the first night, then a decent bed, a folding table, 2 chairs, a frying pan, a coffee maker, work, gym, home, silence. I slept as if the air had less gravity. The following weekend, the guys showed up. We barbecued on a small balcony and laughed about the dumb things men talk about when they don't need to impress anyone. I told them everything. Names, places, the rotation. Their faces went from shock to calculation. Mark showed up the following Sunday. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You're handling this with a calm that's scary? He said. I already felt everything, I replied. Now I'm just acting. Are you going to tell Gina? No, I'm not the town crier. They'll find out what they need to when they need to, he exhaled. You were always the guy who did the right thing, even if it was boring. It pays better, I said. 2.5 weeks later, Nolan called. Folders ready, he said. You can pick them up this afternoon. I picked them up at 4 p.m. Ordinary, file folder, no drama. I texted Tara. Coming home early tonight, can we talk? She replied in less than a minute. Finally, I felt nothing at that word. On the drive back to the other side of town, I noticed the sun hitting the tops of the maple trees along our street. I parked in the garage, grabbed the folder, and went inside. They were already all sitting in the kitchen. Tara at the head of the table, her friends lined up like a panel. Gina looked tense. The others looked self-satisfied. Coffee cups, water glasses, phones face down as coasters. Tara gestured to a chair. Sit. I placed the folder on the counter and pulled out a chair slowly. What is this? A book club? Silence on the left. I watched eyes meet in that way people do when they've rehearsed lines and don't want to be the first to speak. Tara straightened up. We talked, she began. We all agree it's time. This isn't working. Which parts? I asked. The marriage or the speech you rehearsed? She ignored me. It's over, Jay-Shen. You can sign a fair division, or we can make it difficult. Gina didn't nod with the others. She was studying the table. I asked. I swept my gaze slowly down the line. Interesting term. Why? If we are voting, I have a question for the panel. I looked each of them in the eye. Do any of you object to your husbands being my wife's Thursday night entertainment? The room went from smug to paralyzed. I left the words hanging in the air. Gina's jaw moved once and locked. Tara's face lost color without fanfare. I took a thinner folder from inside the other and slid the printed photos across the table like a dealer dealing cards. No comments, no pointing. The images found the light. Gina grabbed one, looked, and recoiled from the table so hard her chair legs screeched on the floor. The woman to Tara's right. Jen blinked rapidly. Another friend muttered something that didn't finish. I leaned back, just trying to calibrate. I said, your ethics seemed pretty high a minute ago. Tara's voice came out small. Are you twisting this? No, I replied. I'm filing. I placed the divorce papers on top of the photos. This is clean. You sign. I sign. We're done. You don't take a single cent that is mine, and you'll leave tonight. The kitchen erupted not against me, but against Tara. A chorus of questions, accusations, denials, overlapping voices, turning into screaming. I watched as if I had bought tickets. Gina pointed at Tara's phone, demanding answers. Another friend insisted there must be an explanation, until she saw a photo that took explanations off the menu. Tara tried words like mistakes, complicated, and it's not what it looks like. These words failed like umbrellas in a hurricane. I didn't move. I let the storm blow. When the volume peaked, I stood up. I'm going upstairs, I said, addressing no one. Adjust the hands on this sisterhood of yours. Upstairs, I grabbed Tara's suitcases from the closet and put them on the bed. I packed fast and organized clothes, shoes, toiletries, 3 framed photos face down and wrapped in bubble wrap because I'm not a vandal. I grabbed her spare keys and threw them inside. I carried the bags to the top of the stairs and waited for a pause. When I went down to the ground floor, the air in the kitchen had shifted from attack to stunned silence. The women had their phones in their hands, texting their husbands or not, burning the screens with their fingers. Tara was sitting with her head in her hands. She didn't look at me. I am not your stage, I said, nor your audience, nor your safety net. I opened the front door, rolled her suitcases onto the porch, and unlatched the handles. You leaving? Don't come back. Don't call. Don't send people. The house is mine. She remained seated. Please, she managed to say. Can we talk? Have you conducted your conversation with a judge? Did you do your homework? I replied, we are done. Gina stood up shakily and grabbed her purse. I need to go, she said to no one. She walked past me as if I were furniture and went out the door. One by one, the others followed, but not before giving Tara a look she will remember longer than anything I could say. The last one stopped. You are cruel, she told me. No, I replied. I am finalized. She left. Tara was alone at the table, fingers interlaced at her temples, staring at the wood. She didn't cry. I think she had no tears left. The room had drained. I lifted the suitcase handles and set them upright. She finally looked at me. I have nowhere to go tonight. You had options? I replied. You chose them. Now choose another. Can I at least explain? You already explained repeatedly in different parking lots. She flinched at that. I messed up. I know, I said. And your rehab clinic is the door. It's open. Take your things. She stood up slowly. I need time. You had it? I replied. You spent it. She grabbed the handles at the door, turned around. You have no heart. I didn't correct her. I'm not in your game. I stepped aside. She rolled the suitcases down the porch steps, as if the sound might make me change my mind. It didn't. A rideshare car arrived, as if she had called it beforehand. She loaded the bags, said something to the driver, and didn't look back. The taillights disappeared at the end of the block. I closed the door and locked it once, then twice. I put the folder on the entry table and exhaled. I went to the garage and stood there for a while, smelling the motor oil and cut grass. Then, I texted Nolan. She left. Papers delivered. Tell me where to sign. The reply came fast. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. I filled a glass of water, sat on the back steps, and listened to the quiet neighborhood. I slept in my own bed like a man who has paid off a debt. The following days passed lightly. I ate breakfast without the schedule of an argument. I went to work and did my job. I told my boss I had resolved a situation at home and might take some half. He shrugged and said, handle your stuff. Mark showed up with a tool I had lent him months ago. He set it down and studied my face. Is everything okay? I'm better than okay? I said. I'm finalized, he nodded. Gina hasn't stopped pacing since that night, he admitted. She shouldn't be mad at me, I said. I didn't break anything that wasn't already cracked. Later that week, Dave and Louise came over. We sat on the porch. The air had that late summer feel, with neighbors mowing lawns and kids riding bikes. Dave slid a deck of cards across the table. So, champ, he said, planning to re-enter the market. Not this month, I replied. I'm appreciating the silence. Louise smiled wryly. Silence is underrated. We played until the mosquitoes suggested we go inside. That night, before sleeping, I put a new lock on the side gate and fixed the slow leak under the kitchen sink that I had let slide because life had been too noisy. I stood up, dried my hands, and chuckled, remembering that original joke. Tara didn't write a single time. I think she understood the rule. Her friends didn't show up demanding anything. They were busy putting out their own fires. Rumors travel fast in neighborhoods like ours, but I don't feed gossip. When asked if everything was okay, I said, better than okay. That was all. The signing at Nolan's office took 15 minutes. He turned the pages, and I initialed where he pointed. Do you come prepared? He said. I was finalized 3 weeks ago, I replied. Good, he said. Keep everything boring, and you'll keep your peace. I took my copy of the documents, paid his fee, and took the long way home with the windows down a bit. I passed the park where I used to meet Tara for runs on weekends. Instead of remembering us, I just saw a clean trail where I could run alone. That was less sad than I expected. A month later, paperwork complete. My house felt different without me having changed much, just a shift in the air. I bought a used truck from a private seller with cash because I wanted something that didn't carry pieces of our old life. I put a second fridge in the garage and stocked it with basics. On Fridays, the guys came over. On Sundays, I took my nephew fishing. During the week, I made simple dinners that didn't require an argument to be consumed. People ask about happiness as if it were a product. Mine is a list of boring victories. I sleep, train early, fix what breaks, and don't engage in drama. When I think of Tara, it's not anger, it's inventory. Signs, actions, consequences. She gave her respect to the public moment, and the private rotation she thought no one saw. I gave my respect to the man in my mirror. 2 months after the last page was stamped, I bumped into Gina at the supermarket. She looked tired, that human tiredness that follows a long personal audit. She put her card in the reader near the carrots and stared at me. "I owe you a thank you," she said. "For what? For not dragging me into anything? For not turning this into content?" "I don't do content," I said. "I do decisions." Her mouth twitched a little. "We're working things out," she said. "It's not pretty, but it's honest." "Honesty is ugly before it gets clean," I replied. She nodded and walked away with a slight wave. I went back to choosing avocados like a grown man who cares about ripeness, not applause. A while later, I received an invitation to a minor league game from a woman in my building. Her name is Brooke. She lives 2 floors up. She talks about her dad's workshop when she's nervous. I said yes, because it seemed normal. We ate hot dogs and roasted the outfield's horrible defense like 2 strangers who could be friends. She didn't ask about my past. I didn't offer. I walked her to her car and said, "That was good." "It was," she replied, and left it at that. I like that. I'm not looking for a fairy tale. I'm building a quiet, solid life that doesn't need props. The story people wanted of me crawling back or blowing up her phone didn't happen. The end of my marriage fit into a folder inside a set of suitcases on a porch. Clean, cold, if you like that word. Effective, if you like the truth. If you are waiting for some speech about forgiveness, learn from me. You can forgive standing up and keep walking. You can look at someone who treated you like a bottom shelf, say no, and then act accordingly. That's not fury, it's clarity. The last time I saw Tara was at a gas station. Weeks ago, she got out of a ride-share car, saw me at the pump, and froze like she'd been caught skipping class. She opened her mouth, closed it, and then walked over to me with that old confidence thinner. "Now, Jason," she said, "can we talk for a minute?" "You can speak," I replied. "I'll listen for one." "It wasn't what you think." She started and stopped, realizing how many times she had already used that phrase. "I'm seeking help," she said instead. "I'm trying. I hope it works," I replied. "For you?" She searched my face for a weak spot. "You were good to me." She tried. "I was good to us," I corrected. "You chose you." She looked at her shoes. "I missed the house," she admitted. "Did you miss the stage?" I asked. "No, the person." She flinched. "You don't have to be cruel." "This isn't cruel," I said. "This is the tone you get when respect is the currency and you paid with jokes." I finished filling up, screwed on the cap, and took a step back. "Take care, Tara. Is that all?" she asked. "That's the point," I said, and got into my truck. She stood there, the wind lifting her hair, as if she wanted to make that moment seem better than it was. It wasn't. I drove home, parked, and carried a bag of groceries inside. I made dinner and ate on the back steps, watching the same maple trees that were green on the day I came back with the folder. They don't change for drama. They change when it's time. I live better now. I have my house, my truck, my friends, on Fridays, a workshop that is slowly filling with tools I promised myself for years and never bought. Some weekends I call the guys for ribs. Others I lock the gate and read in the garage while the neighbor's dog patrols his fence as if he owns the block. Work is steady. My manager gave me a new project because I stopped bringing static to the office. As for Tara, I heard from a neighbor that she moved to a small place a few miles away. The same neighbor mentioned that some of those husbands left home or moved into the guest rooms. And that is all the news I need. I don't gloat. I don't scour their lives. I don't weave timelines. I mind my own. If there is a lesson, it is this. Men waste years trying to recover what someone took on purpose. You cannot convince anyone to respect you. You set the standard and enforce it quietly if you can, loudly if you must. And when you don't hold the door, you close it, lock it, and walk into your own kitchen where your own glass waits for your own water. When Tara put on that show at the counter, she thought I would join the joke. Smile while enduring it, chase after her, then beg for the script to change. I gave her a single clear warning and then did something rare in my generation of men. I acted without drama. I cut access, set terms, left for a while, and when I came back, I brought paper and a watch. My final line to her, the one that closed the book, wasn't shouted. It didn't need volume, it needed weight. I stood by the open door while she held the suitcase handle and tried one last line. A guilt trip. "You have no heart?" she said again. "No," I told her, and this time I smiled because the words fit exactly. "I'm simply not yours anymore." She left. I stayed. And that was the difference that mattered. Comment from Dude Reddit. "What's up, guys? So, what's sweet justice, right? The guy simply turned into the boss of containment and resolved the marriage as if he were closing a corporate contract. Congrats, Jason. You are the new icon of male therapy. Swapped feelings for a manila folder and a WhatsApp block, and Tara, well, she thought life was a reality show, but found out the audience gets tired when the protagonist becomes the villain. Moral of the story, if you want to play emotional games, make sure your opponent doesn't have a detective, a lawyer, and a collection of receipts in his pocket. And remember, kids, love is beautiful, but a good divorce settlement is eternal.